Welcome back to Earth Station Trek, a show where we trek from the early days on NBC to the future on Paramount Plus and everywhere in between. I'm Charles Kelso, and it's my privilege to introduce the Earth Station Trek crew, Veronica Dashel.
Hi.
And we are all alone this week, and hopefully everyone can hear us this time. Do you want to do some news this week?
Yeah, so what's going on in the world of Star Trek?
You have to act surprised, because everyone else couldn't hear it.
I know, right?
All right, so Laura Thok, who is a character in the upcoming Starfleet Academy.
Yes, she's the Jem'Hadar Klingon.
That's right, yes. Jem'Hadar / Klingon. And female. And she had an Instagram post that read, according to TrekMovie.com, the prosthetic department at Star Trek are a bunch of geniuses, and the costume department make my breasts look amazing. That is all. And then she also signed off her message with "See you in January 2026." After this got noticed online, Yashir edited her message to the PR-approved early 2026. So there's a good chance that we'll see Starfleet Academy in January of 2026. We probably will find out more. What is it, New York Comic-Con that's going on this weekend?
Yeah, I think so.
Hopefully we'll get a full trailer and a release date.
Yes.
That's my hope.
Yes.
All right. Ongoing with the news.
Yes.
So according to TrekMovie.com, Mary Wiseman's Tilly will be in Starfleet Academy, but not as much as expected.
That's not terribly surprising.
No, because she's been absent from everything.
Yes.
Which is weird because the whole Starfleet Academy thing seemed like a Tilly thing.
Yeah.
They were setting it up on Discovery.
Yeah.
And she's going to teach there. They even did the flash forward to the future where they were like, Tilly was the longest serving professor in the history of Starfleet Academy. Yeah. But apparently that tenure was one episode. Yes. Because according to this article on TrekMovie.com, it says, quote, when Paramount announced Starfleet Academy, which premieres early next year, one of the cast members listed was Miss Mary Wiseman, reprising her Discovery role of Tilly. Since then, we've had panel interviews, photos, a teaser and a trailer, but no Mary. Any idea what's going on? Is she still in the show? Fingers crossed. And then the answer came, you can rest assured that Wiseman will appear on Starfleet Academy as a guest star in one episode. Yeah. What happened with Tilly? Do you think it was a money thing?
I can't,
or a time thing?
I can't imagine. I can only assume it's a time thing.
She's been doing Star Trek since, for us, 2017. But they would have been filming probably before we saw it, I'm sure.
Yeah. 2016.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's 9 years.
Yeah.
From ago, you know, so that's quite a bit of Star Trek. So maybe she's moved on to other things.
Yeah. I knew she was doing some stage stuff with her partner.
Yeah.
So maybe they're all wrapped up in that.
I don't think she has that partner anymore, but yeah. But hopefully she's being very successful and getting paid what she's worth. Indeed. But it is disappointing for us to not have Tilly on Starfleet Academy.
I liked Tilly. She was awesome.
And then additionally, there was a cover reveal for, this is according to Trek Central, author Dayton Ward's upcoming new Star Trek Picard novel, To Defy Fate, has a release date of February 17th, 2026. And the novel, it looks like this is set post season 3. There's no plot details for it yet, but you've got Seven in her captain uniform. You've got, I've just blanked on the name of her first officer, who was a regular on Star Trek Picard for 3 years. Rafi. You've got Rafi in her uniform. You've got Beverly Crusher, Picard, and also you've got Wesley Crusher.
And a big giant head.
A big giant head, but also what looks like a fracture and a time vortex, which maybe it's Soji or Dodge or whatever the 21st century version of them was. Remember when Wesley showed up and recruited her?
Yeah. Yeah. That'd be good.
Yeah.
Because nothing came to that.
My hope is that you get Wesley and Jack.
Yeah.
Right? Wesley, Jack, and Beverly. I want to see the whole family, or read the whole family.
Yes.
Now, someone did point out, I think it was Kevin McCoy, who is a friend of the show, pointed out that Jack did meet Wesley did meet Jack on Prodigy. We didn't get to see that, and Jack was like 4 years old. So I want to see read proper Wesley and Jack meeting one another in the Star Trek Picard timeline. You want to do some This Week in Trek this week?
Sure. So what's happening this week in Trek history?
Now, it won't be as thorough as Keith would have been.
No.
But I did want to mention that today, October the 9th, 2025, is the 30th anniversary of the first airing of The Visitor on Deep Space Nine.
Yay.
That was October the 9th, 1995.
Wow.
When I was 14.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Right? Isn't that cool, though?
Yeah.
30 years ago.
30 years.
Yeah. So Cisco might appear in this episode while we're talking. Who knows? But that's an all-time classic. It's like we talk about all-time classic Star Trek episodes. That is one that will be remembered as an all-time classic just because it's better than the show. Like the show's great. We love the show.
Yes.
But certain episodes just rise to a different level, and
Yep.
The Visitor is one of those shows.
100%.
Yeah. So The Visitor, the happy 30th anniversary of The Visitor, and
Yay.
congratulations to everyone who was involved in making that 30 years ago.
Indeed.
Now we've got a stack of comments. Let's start grabbing some comments. Matt Sweatman says, "We've got mood lighting and wine. We're ready." Awesome, Matt. Irish Banshee 1974 says, "Ooh, I want that DC volunteer glass." Yep, I'm drinking my margarita tonight out of a Dragon Con glass. Also, our camera is set on autofocus, so there's no way to change that without OBS, and I don't have OBS open. So you have to watch us coming in and out of focus.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Sweatman says, "Veronica's mic is..."
Yeah.
We already went past
We already
that
went
part,
that
didn't
one.
we? Let's not relive that.
Yeah.
Elaine said, "I hate that she's only going to be in one episode." That's referring to Tilly.
Mhm.
But I'm looking forward to seeing the other cast shine in the show. And that's really going to be, hopefully, where this show lives, is us falling in love with these new cadets.
I hope so.
Yeah. Elaine said, "How can you forget Raffi? What's in your glass but Reiki for Wesley?" Yeah, you know what? There's 10 episodes of Star Trek Picard, and they're like a year or two in between them. So yeah, I blinked on her name. Matt said, "I hope Mary can break out such as Sonequa Martin Green and Michelle Yeoh have."
Mhm.
Now, to be fair, Michelle Yeoh was broken out before she was in the show. But yeah, Sonequa Martin Green has got a new show coming out, and hopefully Mary Wiseman will be just as successful. Elaine said, "We'll get to that episode at some point, The Visitor." Oh, just wait for it, Elaine. You're going to love it.
It's gonna be awesome.
And Mark says, "The Phillies are on and the Eagles are on, yet I am here."
Yay!
I appreciate you, Mark. Thank you for joining us. All right, so we decided tonight to, now my idea, because we found out sort of last minute that Keith and Alan weren't going to be here. We didn't have a topic picked out. Got to come up with something that you and I can talk about for an hour.
Yep.
We had a couple of ideas, but they all sort of involved what I thought would be me describing Star Trek episodes to you that you don't remember, which would not be exciting. But we came to, let's just get drunk and talk about sex in Star Trek.
Yeah.
Now, my idea was to talk about who has the best sex in Star Trek. Your idea was a little more comprehensive. So you want to talk to
Yes.
about what we're going to talk about tonight?
Yeah, so kind of like how sex is done in Star Trek, how it's perceived in Star Trek, how relationships are perceived in Star Trek.
And how they're portrayed on screen.
Yes, and how they're portrayed on screen.
Mhm.
And Chuck will have to reference any book instances of relationships and sex in Star Trek.
Okay.
But one of the first things that comes to my mind when we talk about sex in Star Trek is the Horgon. And we got...
You see it back there? We have a Horgon lamp.
We have a Horgon lamp. We have a full-sized Horgon here somewhere, but we took it to a convention, and it's not in its usual spot, so we didn't put it back.
And we had a great time at that convention.
Yes, we did. So the Horgon is what comes to my mind, because you carry around a Horgon on Risa, and it means you want your Maharan. Yeah. Which I'm assuming is sex.
It was always sort of just, like, it seemed like Jamaharan was always just sex, right?
Yep.
But then in Lower Decks, when Mariner was talking about Jamaharan, she made it sound like it's something dirtier than sex, because she was like, "Oh, he's in the Jamaharan." Like, so you gotta imagine Jamaharan is like some kind of, like, whatever sex is, something dirtier than sex. Well, let's talk about Risa. Are we just jumping in the middle of Star Trek then?
Yeah, we're just jump right in the middle.
Okay. Yeah, so you get Risa, which is the pleasure planet in Star Trek. People go there for the sex, you know?
I assume it's not just for the sex. It's kind of to
There's also a
relax.
beach.
To relax and, like, not have to worry about how other people might perceive you. And you can just kind of be yourself, as open or as closed as you want to be. Like, Picard wanted to just, like, chill there and relax in the sun and read a book.
Sure. Well, that's kind of true, because, like, they have a system set up on Risa where if you're carrying a Horgon, it means that you are seeking Jamaharan. Yep. Right? So presumably people leave you alone if you're not carrying a Horgon and displaying a Horgon. Yeah. There's a similar sort of thing. We do a lot of, like, burlesque shows and things like that. And there's a similar sort of thing where if a burlesque performer is approaching you and you do not want to be interacted with, you have to, like, cross your arms or do that sort of thing, right? Yep. And they'll leave you alone. Yep. Right? Because the idea is that consent goes both ways. You don't touch the performers. They don't touch you unless there is consent. And it seems like Risa has a similar sort of thing. Despite being a wild sex planet, you know, they have an idol that you can carry if you're looking for the wild, dirty sex. And if you're not, you want to read a book and drink a drink, then don't display a Horgon and people leave you be.
Yeah, I think that's a great system.
Yeah. Yeah.
It might be a little heavy to carry around, at least the model I have. I saw someone carrying around one time, they had a plush version of it. I was like, that's perfect.
Yeah, there you go. So you're saying your Horgon is too big?
Yes.
It's-
Well, not too big, too heavy.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you're not going to be carrying it around, is what you're saying?
No, probably not.
Oh, okay. Well, you have to get a lighter Horgon to carry around.
Yeah.
You remember that time that Worf joined conservative terrorists to take down Ryza?
I know.
I hate that episode. That episode makes me angry.
But it was really cute, whatever ceremony that Bashir and Lita were doing to basically end their relationship. They went to Ryza and they were together and they had other partners. And in the end, they came together and did whatever ceremony. Okay, we're officially formally broken up. And I don't think it was like a human or a Bajoran ceremony type thing. I think it was just this is a ceremony and we're gonna do something official and we don't hate each other. We're not leaving on bad terms, but we don't want to date each other anymore.
Yeah, seems like kind of a healthy thing to do.
Yeah.
Like we're gonna call the end of our relationship.
And we're gonna have a fun time doing it.
Right. Yeah. So now I don't remember the ins and outs of that episode because I hate it. But so were they together physically, or were they together with other people?
So from what I recall, and I may not be recalling this properly, is they were together when they first got there and they went off and did something together. And Worf saw Bashir with someone and Lita with someone and he was getting all upset. Yeah. Even though you think of all races, Klingons would be the most open about that. And
Apparently not.
Yeah. And then at the end of their trip, they did the little ceremony and I feel like they crushed something. I don't remember what. I'm not fully remembering it.
Yeah. I get hung up on Worf joining those conservative terrorists to take down Ryza.
I know, right?
And he's there with Jadzia Dax.
I know. Like, you're there with Jadzia and you're instead trying to stay inside and, like, take down this planet where if you don't want to participate, you don't have to.
Was it Michelle Williams, I think, that was the guest star on that episode? And the whole thing was like Jadzia was hanging out with her. And like Curzon had died having Jamaharan with her. Yeah. So went out the way he lived.
Yeah.
Right. Let's jump into some comments. So Irish Banshee says, but poor Picard, he didn't know.
He did not.
See, is that crappy for Riker, or is that funny for your friend? To like, because the whole idea is that if we're talking about consent and displaying the Horgon is at least showing an interest, not necessarily consent to everything, but showing an interest. And if you trick someone into displaying a Horgon, is that cool? Is that a dick move?
That 100% dick move. Sorry, Riker. I like you a lot. You were my very first celebrity crush. No,
Riker was your very first celebrity crush?
Yes.
Wow.
Well, the character Riker.
Okay. If I knew that, I forgot it.
But yeah. Even though I did not watch Star Trek much when I was younger, but I knew of TNG, and he was my very first TV character crush.
And Matt bailed me out here and said Vanessa Williams was in that episode. What did I say? Michelle Williams?
Yeah, Michelle Williams.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm pretty sure she's from Dawson's Creek.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah. That wasn't. They don't even favor.
No, not at all. They just have the last name Williams.
All right. So let's take a left turn here.
Okay.
Because Matt and Elaine are trolling me in the comments here and said you can't talk about sex in Trek and ignore Enterprise.
That is true.
And
that is true.
Unfortunately, it is true.
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, the most interesting.
Well, hang on. Let me get this. I know what you're going to say, but Elaine said, "Ooh, can we talk about Phlox?"
Yes.
So why is Phlox the most interesting to you?
Because he is a polyamorous character. And that is the only time that has been portrayed on Star Trek, and even then, it hasn't been portrayed much. It's just that they have multiple partners, and their partners have multiple partners, and they raise their families as a giant 6-ish adult unit, and they have however many kids running around, and they all raise them together.
Yeah, like everyone. Now you say partners. Now they specified in Enterprise that it was the wives have husbands and the husbands have wives, because it was still Enterprise,
Yes,
which
it was still early 2000s.
Yeah, and
the word partner was not.
Well, it was conservative Trek, so it was all straight. Like it's a sex planet, but everyone's straight, because they always wanted to make sure everyone knew that on Enterprise.
Yeah.
But yeah, and like I remember when Phlox's wife came on to Enterprise, and he was totally into like Trip banging his wife. Like she's great, you should try it.
Yeah.
And Trip was weirded out.
Yeah.
Right. Now, do you remember that Phlox's wife was Don Draper's wife? Not his wife, but the real Don Draper on Mad Men. The real Don Draper's wife, who was in California, I think.
Yeah.
Was Phlox's wife. If I'm remembering that correctly. And so she came on Enterprise. I say the Enterprise on Enterprise because they always said Enterprise on Enterprise. But and Phlox was like, yeah, she's into you. You should totally bang my wife. She's great. Our friends over at the Enterprise Planning Podcast have just done that episode.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I may have to actually listen to that one. I don't usually listen to it because it's so long. Sorry, guys.
It's not. They've split it up now. It's okay. It's good.
Okay.
Check it out.
I will give a listen.
Yeah. So, but yeah, you're right. Polyamory isn't displayed much on Star Trek. It's very, very monogamous, like the way relationships are portrayed on Star Trek. And for most of Star Trek, they're portrayed as being monogamous and heterosexual. That's starting to change with Discovery and Lower Decks a bit, and so on. But yeah, Phlox was an example of. I mean, it's a culture where everyone has multiple wives and multiple husbands, and there's a lot of intersection there, and long tongues. Yeah, which
useful.
Yep. Right.
Depending on how their anatomy works, you know.
Now, Enterprise also had the decon chamber.
Yes.
Where everyone gets in their underwear, their blue underwear.
Yep.
And rubs gel on one another because that's the most efficient way to decontaminate.
Yep.
You got to imagine somebody had that idea and was just thrilled that everyone went along with it.
I know.
Like, we could have a chamber, like a more efficient version of this, but what if we just rub each other down with gel?
Yeah, like spraying particles into the air with your eyes closed and standing there with your arms up is. I feel like that would be more sanitary, and you're less likely to accidentally, like, if someone had too much radiation on them and then you're touching them but you got radiation now all of a sudden, and
you should hose somebody down with something.
Yeah.
It should be you strip down and like the things like blast you like a shower.
Yeah.
That would be more efficient than your coworker rubbing your body. Now, maybe not as titillating for the middle-aged men who were writing the show at the time. Because I'm sure they had that idea, and imagine Jillian Blaylock in there, and we're like, we should definitely rub gel all over Jillian Blaylock as often as we can. But that was kind of the deal with Enterprise. Like, half the show, people are in their blue underwear. I remember one time Trip had to like repel a Ferengi invasion, capturing of the ship in his underwear. Like, people are in their underwear more on Enterprise than any other Star Trek.
Indeed.
But it was also often very like a 13-year-old's version of sexuality.
Yes.
Where like there was this, like, I remember a scene where Archer and T'Pol were captured and tied together, and they like turned around and they fell down, and Archer's face fell on her boobs, and it was embarrassing. And it was like, is this a show for grown-ups?
No.
You know what I mean?
It was the 13-year-old boy in their head writing those stories.
Right. So Elaine said, but how else am I going to see Trip in his undies? Right?
I mean, unfortunately, there was not an OnlyFans back then, so,
I mean, that's a point, though, because, like, Star Trek today, like the modern version of Star Trek, I don't think is as sexy as old Star Trek was. They made an effort to be sexy. Now, maybe for the better, maybe for the worse. Yeah. But older Star Trek, it seemed like you'd have the sexy character or the sexy situation, or like the Bill Tice costuming, where really you feel like if that actress moved the wrong way, her dress is just coming off, right? Like, but it was very strategic in that way to be titillating. But I don't think they try to titillate much on like Discovery or Picard. Or even Strange New Worlds. Is Strange New Worlds, like, has there been like sexy characters? Like, people are like the actors who are just naturally sexy, yes. Yeah. But I mean, like this, like sexiness.
No, I think the closest they came was Spock and La'an and the dance, and then will they gonna kiss, or will they want? Why is all the sexual tension, and then they kiss? I think that was the most sexy that Stranger Worlds has gotten. Yeah,
I mean, you had like Captain Angel was kind of a sexy character, kind of just by their demeanor, right?
They were very flamboyant.
Sure, and kind of flirty.
Yeah,
kind of evil flirt. Evil flirty is kind of sexy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like titillating characters or situations, and you're right, there's more relationships on Strange New Worlds. We've commented that on our show before, that they focus very much on the relationships more than like the plot or the science fiction.
Yeah.
And a lot of those situations involve Spock and relationships with various Enterprise crew people.
Indeed.
But yeah, I don't really think of like Strange New Worlds as like a titillating show. You know, like in the way that now that's like the original series wasn't necessarily like it wasn't the show titillating, but you'd have like sexy guest stars who were in Ryan Slave Girls. Yeah, we'll get to that because that was like the first Star Trek episode had a Ryan Slave Girls, and which is iconic now. But you don't really have like the sexy characters beaming on in sexy outfits, male or female.
Yeah.
Like even like just the other day I was watching Justice, the Next Generation episode, where everybody's in the sexy rompers, and it's like a sex planet, where if you step on the grass in the wrong, you know, then you might be put to death.
Yeah.
But there's everyone in sexy rompers who are ready to like they're down, right? So it's worth the risk, right? Yeah. For some people. But that was also the episode where Wesley was like, he's like 15, 16, like, well, golly, I don't play the adult games, you know, because they would write.
No 15 or 16-year-old would say
they
that.
They write Wesley like he's 12 or 9.
9.
All right, I feel like I've missed some comments here.
Yeah.
So this is going back a little bit. Elaine said Risa is a sandals resort.
I don't know what that means. Or you wear sandals in Risa?
I guess bring your Horgon if you go to a sandals resort. Matt said if you don't want sex on vacation, don't take advice from Riker.
That's true.
That's probably true. Elaine said that Jonathan Frakes is very charming.
He really is. He's awesome.
Elaine also said there are no gay folks in Enterprise.
It's true.
Yeah, not explicitly. And Elaine said, I read that comment.
One. Yeah.
Okay, so here was one. So Matt said, I remember TNG's The Perfect Mate, which I thought was, at the time, one of the sexiest episodes of Star Trek.
I don't remember that episode.
The Perfect Mate. That's the one with Famke Jensen, I think. And if I'm getting the episode right, that she was like designed to be the perfect mate for somebody, but she bonded with Picard instead and became his perfect mate. So she like falls in love and becomes the perfect mate for a person. And yeah, and certainly Famke Jensen is super sexy, right? She brings the sex appeal. Yeah. But yeah, I haven't seen that episode in quite a long time.
Yeah.
Have you?
I only have a vague memory of it. I remember that there was something going on and she like bonded with Picard. That's the extent of the thing.
So Matt said Spock is the biggest player on Strange New Worlds. Weird. It's certainly an interesting direction to go with Spock.
Yeah.
Because you don't think of Spock as a player, right? Although Spock did have romances.
Yeah.
Along the course of the original series. But yeah, like my first thought if I was writing a Star Trek prequel wouldn't be like Spock's going to be macking on everybody on the ship, right?
Yeah.
Elaine said, it does seem like the vast majority of sexy outfits were in the original series. The first one that comes to mind is the Gaga foil outfit. And she's referring to Shauna from the Gamesters of Triskelion, who was very attractive in her Gaga foil, as Elaine puts it. Do you remember the Gamesters of Triskelion? Shauna had green hair. She was the one who was, show me this human thing called a kiss. Right?
Okay, I'm not laughing because I remember it or because that scene is funny. I'm laughing at because Chuck basically used almost that line for one of our adult Star Trek episodes.
Yeah, we do. For anyone who's new to the show, Veronica and I do puppet shows, but also we do very adult puppet shows and very adult nerdy puppet shows.
Primarily Star Trek.
Yeah, and we have one that's called the Human. Well, it was called the Human Thing Called Lust, and then it became a crash course in. Can I say it on the show?
I don't know.
I don't know if I can say the title of one of our routines.
Crash course in hate effing.
Effing, right?
There you go.
Yeah, but it plays off a lot of Star Trek episodes. And
I'm always tickled when I'm like, hey, I know what that's from.
Right.
It's from our puppet show. They stole it from the future.
But Shauna, she was a drill thrall on the planet Triskelion, and she had a romance with Captain Kirk, and it sort of ended with her looking at the skies and like, I will remember what you taught me, Captain Kirk, kind of a thing, you know? Okay. It's actually a really good episode. I really love the game. It's just a Triskelion. And Elaine comments, her boobs look like they were wrapped in foil like baked potatoes. That is the best advertisement for baked potatoes I've ever heard. Tiger Blade 2002 says, I agree. Spock was a Tang magnet. But yeah, it seems like Bill Tice did the outfits for the original series, the costuming for the original series. He was very good at designing those like titillating costumes that would get past the censors, but got your imagination going, right? And then they brought Bill Tice back for the first several seasons of Next Gen, and he was responsible for some of the Next Gen. That's one of the reasons. Like you had a lot of participation from the old guard in the early Next Gen. David Gerrold, DC Fontana, Gene Roddenberry, obviously, Bill Tice. But the first couple seasons of Next Gen feel very much like they're moving original series methodology into the 80s. And I don't think that the Bill Tice costumes worked as well in the 80s. I think they worked better in the 60s. Like you think of episodes like Angel One, which was that was the planet with the women who were, it was a matriarchal society. The women were larger and stronger than the men. The men were more subservient. It was sort of playing off of the stereotypes of our own culture.
Yeah, I remember that.
And the men had very like revealing blouses, which Riker put one on to everyone's enjoyment, I would say. And but I don't think that like the TOS sexuality worked as well on early Next Gen. Yeah. I think Next Gen was better when it found its own version of that, rather than trying to do the TOS thing. Justice, which I mentioned earlier, I think would have worked better in the 60s than it did in the 80s. I think it feels a little weird and maybe stilted, out of place. What do you think?
I don't know. Every time you say Justice, I think of the Monkees record.
No, that's Just Us. Justice is the one with the Sexy Romper Planet.
Okay. Yeah. Justice is Sexy Romper Planet, and Just Us is.
Yeah. And if you're going to visit a planet, Sexy Romper Planet is certainly a planet you want to visit.
Yeah. Just don't get on the grass.
Hey, stay off the grass.
Stay off the grass. Yeah, that was Mickey's movie.
Right. All right. So Matt commented, there were also, outside of the decon chamber, this is going back to Enterprise, Trip having Vulcan meditation sessions in T'Pol's quarters.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, what do you remember, and do you like the T'Pol Trip thing? That was a big thing. I'm sorry to interject.
Yeah.
It was a big thing on Star Trek because they actually cropped it, I believe, on the original airing. There was a scene where T'Pol drops her robe and her bottom is on display. And I believe, if my memory is correct, they cropped it for the original airing, so T'Pol's bottom wasn't on display. So what do you think about, like, how much of that should there be in Star Trek? Should you see the characters' asses from time to time?
I don't think that's necessary.
Okay.
That just like bumps up the rating unnecessarily to me. I mean, maybe if there was like a movie or something and it was like called for as part of the storyline. I don't know.
Tell you what, let's pause this because we're at the 30-minute point of the show.
Yep.
So let's take a break and do a quick advertisement. Actually, it's going to be for us because we're in charge tonight, and the adults are all gone, and we're unsupervised. So we're going to play our own ad for the Felt Nerdy and Dirty Show, and then when we come back, we will get back to people's asses in Star Trek. So stay right there.
We can't show you what happens in the Felt Nerdy and Dirty Show, but we can show you the people responsible. Charles Kelso, Veronica Dashel. Felt nerdy and dirty. You won't believe your eyes.
And we're back with Asses in Star Trek. So, Veronica, what were you saying about showing basically like, nudity and sexuality in Star Trek?
So I don't think like in a generic TV series that it's necessary, unless there's something about it that drives the plot.
Okay.
Maybe something in a movie, but also driving the plot more. Unless there's a series that it's kind of specifically about that facet of Star Trek.
Okay, so like a series about sex in Star Trek.
Yeah, about like a relationship, friends type of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what about like on Discovery? Like generally, I don't think Discovery, it doesn't try to be sexy in the way that some of the old Star Treks did.
Yeah.
Right? You don't have a character in a cat suit, or romances with ladies or men in scantily clad outfits on various alien planets, like you did in the old Star Trek.
Yeah.
But you did have like the first Klingon nude scene.
Yeah.
In Star Trek, when L'Rell, there was a flashback in season 1 of Discovery when L'Rell was I'm trying to avoid the explicit tag. We might have already spoiled
The
that.
R word.
Well, yes, but also she was I would say cowboying on Vok, or was it Tyler?
I think it was Tyler.
Okay. Well, Tyler was remembering it, I think.
Yeah.
But you did see Klingon nipples, female nipples, for the first time, and like it was like the weird Nosferatu-ish, this early Discovery Klingons. So what did you think of that going on?
I thought it was totally unnecessary, and I don't have a good memory of it because I think we watched it exactly the one time and we've never watched it again.
No, I've seen it. I've seen it since. Yeah, I didn't care for it at the time. In 2017, I was trying to introduce my daughter to Star Trek. My daughter was 11 when Discovery debuted, and so I was pretty annoyed at the time that they went TVMA because Star Trek was coming back to television. My daughter was 11. That was around the age that I got into Star Trek real big. And I was like, great, we can watch Star Trek. And it was like the first TVMA Star Trek where there's like, graphic murders and cannibalism and nude Klingons raping people. And I was like, what the crap is this, right? But also, in addition to that, just as a viewer, like if I was going to go through the history of Star Trek and pick a Klingon whose nipples I was going to see, it wouldn't be weird Nosferatu L'Rell, right? Which is not a dig on Mary Chieffo, but more on like the presentation of Star Trek, of Klingons in Star Trek at that time. Right. But I didn't care much for that either. But that was probably the most explicit sex we've ever seen on Discovery, at least.
Yeah.
But also probably on Star Trek.
Yeah, 100%.
Because it was a full-on sex scene.
Yeah.
With like boobs
Yep.
and nipples.
Yep.
Which you don't typically see on Star Trek.
Nope.
So do you think Star Trek? I mean, at this point, and I was upset at the time because I was trying to show a kid Star Trek.
Yeah.
But I mean, realistically, the audience of Star Trek is older now than we were in the 90s. For instance, right? And like you have the kid versions of Star Trek, but what do you think about doing adult Star Trek that's just for adults and showing more adult content?
I mean, I'm fine with it as long as people are aware that that's what it's going to be, and that there is something for all ages. Like right now, there really isn't anything for all ages because I feel like Strange New Worlds is, I mean, it's relationship focused, so I don't feel like that will grab the kids at all.
You don't think kids watch relationship shows?
I think they might find it boring.
Okay.
Maybe that's just me. And Star Trek Scouts is terrible.
Unwatchable.
We tried to watch another one. And
I am going to watch every Star Trek Scouts, and I will say in Star Trek Scouts' defense, it is better than very short treks.
Yes. 100%. So very short tracks had some potty humor in it, like stupid potty humor. I don't like stupid humor, and I don't like potty humor. And it had stupid potty humor.
Okay.
That was a problem.
We'll get back on track.
Yes. Okay. But yeah, I think if it's like a structured that way, and I don't feel like Discovery was really structured that way. They just decided it was TVMA, but it wasn't really TVMA with the exception of the graphic killing and the graphic.
There were some murders and cannibalism
and
violations of the Geneva Convention and cursing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with cursing.
Well, Elaine commented, in Discovery's defense, it was already rated as more mature than the other Star Trek series.
Yeah.
And that's mature in the sense of content, not in like psychologically mature. Because I would argue that other Star Trek shows were more mature than Discovery was, especially at that time. And I like Discovery. I'm not saying that to crap on Discovery. Yeah. Okay, so let's take a left turn here and say, Matt said another sexy scene was in Up the Long Ladder when Brenna is in Riker's quarters, takes off an outer wrap showing her midriff, and asks Riker if he likes girls. Do you remember Up the Long Ladder?
No.
They picked a bunch of Irish people who were the most Irish people in Star Trek until you get to that weird Irish Vulcan robot being driven by an alien in Station 31. But they were very stereotypically Irish people, and one of them was super hot, and she came on to Riker. That's the backstory for that.
Okay.
Why wouldn't you?
No.
Right?
I don't know why. I mean,
Right.
you're a sexy woman and Riker's there. Heck yeah.
Right. Yeah. So Elaine commented, they haven't found a good balance between adult and kid shows. Although Prodigy was very good, it wasn't always easy to watch. And Lower Decks is definitely geared more toward adults. Yeah, I would be interested in someone who has not seen all of Star Trek watching Lower Decks to see how it holds up, because so much of it is Star Trek jokes. I think it's probably very funny and well made on its own, but it's a lot of Star Trek jokes, right? Like if you took all the Star Trek jokes out of it, like if you didn't get any of them, how funny is Lower Decks on its own? I think probably good, but not as good.
No.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, so some of the Star Trek jokes, they still seem funny,
Okay.
even if you don't get the reference.
Okay.
I feel like.
Well, I think that's probably like the ideal for a show like that, right?
Mhm.
If you get the reference, it's even funnier.
Yeah.
If you don't get the reference, it's still funny.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There was more sexuality in Lower Decks
There was.
than you get on a lot of the more modern Star Trek shows.
Yeah.
And I remember people got upset. They had the naked time scene in the holodeck episode when she walked in and everyone was naked and stuff, and people were clutching their pearls and saying, "Not on my Star Trek."
There was in the very first episode the nude workout room, Olympic workout.
Oh yeah.
Bench pressing.
But you had something. People commented on that. There was an image from the Naked Now when they were in the ship that had already been affected by the plague, and they go in and everyone had showered and frozen themselves naked, and there was a bunch of naked people, basically like an orgy had frozen to death essentially on this ship, and they showed that on Star Trek, and it wasn't that dissimilar from that Lower Decks episode.
Yeah.
Right. Although Lower Decks played it more for laughs.
Yeah.
And then people got upset more about Lower Decks. Right.
So speaking of Lower Decks, Ta'ana and Shax.
Okay.
They had a very
healthy.
Well, I don't know if healthy was the right word. They had a very vigorous sex life.
Right.
I don't know if it was healthy.
They certainly had a sex life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was very interesting. Where they go on. I mean, like there was Mariner being forced to clean out the the filter, basically the filter.
The filter on the holodeck.
Yeah.
The biofilter.
The biofilter.
We'll
there we
say.
go. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then the captain being shocked that people use it for that. I don't know why she would be shocked.
Right.
She knows. She knows. She knows.
If I had a holodeck, it would be used for that.
Yeah. But the bots apparently automatically clean it up after you, and it's just stored in the waste thing, just like your little robot vacuum that goes around and it steals up
Roomba.
stuff. Roomba. Yeah, and it stores up stuff, and you have to empty the thing, and it smells gross if it's the mop kind, and you're like, ew, this is the gross water that it puts in there of what it mopped up from my floor, and that's basically what the holodeck was, only worse.
Well, you just went off the rails. So I'm going to grab Wayne's comment that says that scene up the long ladder is my most watched Star Trek scene, which I presume is even more than that episode where Deanna Troi was wearing that see-through outfit, which I would have to imagine is the most paused scene in Star Trek.
Was that when she wasn't being Deanna Troi and like something else was taking?
She was still Deanna Troi.
Okay.
Yeah. But let's back up.
Okay.
Because we commented on this earlier.
Right.
But the very first episode of Star Trek that was ever made was The Cage. It wasn't aired first, but it was the first one that was produced. And in that episode, you had the Orion sex slave concept that was introduced. Right. And so it was like sexy Star Trek from the jump. Right. And so now in that case, it was Pike's fantasy. You know, it was something that he might do instead of being a Star Trek captain. But Vina took the form of a sexy Orion slave woman to do a sexy dance and that sort of thing. Right? So, I mean, you're a pretty progressive modern day woman.
Yeah.
What do you think of the Orion sex slave trope in Star Trek?
I mean, I think it's fine. I don't have a problem with it.
Okay.
And I don't know. I mean, because it was part of the plot. I feel like that was part of the plot, and it wasn't explicit.
Okay.
But it was adult and sexual in a way, but not to the point of I couldn't show this to I wouldn't feel comfortable showing this to my kid.
Right. Like, yeah, it was sexy, but not so sexy that because old Star Trek, new Star Trek is more fragmented, where it was like, this one's for kids, this one's for teens, this one's for adults, this one's, but old Star Trek really, you'd watch it with grandmas in the room or the kids are in the room, and it didn't really matter.
Yeah.
Right. And so, it was sexy enough for the adults, but not too sexy for the kids.
Yeah.
Because she was just doing a dance.
Yeah.
They've evolved the concept of Orions.
Yeah.
Over the course of Star Trek.
Yeah.
Now, Enterprise recharacterized Orion women as being in charge of that culture.
Yeah.
They're in control of the men. We'd always thought that they were being victimized, but actually they're the ones in power, right? They've got the sexual control over the men.
I think that was a really great twist that they did. I think that was really interesting. I don't remember seeing that, and I didn't realize that came from Enterprise, but I think that was a really interesting way to shift it. Because I know that having men sell the women as sex slaves, people had thought was, oh, how can you do that? That's wrong. Type of thing. Or I'm sure they did. I wasn't around at Star Trek forums at that time, but it seems like that would be something that people would have said.
In 2001 there was a lot of comment, or no, it wasn't 2001, but it was in the early 2000s. There's a lot of commenting about it, that it was a postmodern revisionism of the Orion slave concept. Some people were in favor of it, some people weren't, which is everything in Star Trek.
Yes.
But they've evolved Orions more through Lower Decks.
Yeah.
We're with Tendi and her relationship with Orion. Yeah. And what do you think about the way Orions have evolved really since the original series through Tendi? Is it consistent enough for you? Do you think it should be? Do you think that it's good to take something like the Orion sex slave concept and evolve it to the point where you have Tendi as an Orion pirate queen, essentially? What do you think?
I feel like they took it a little too far in the opposite direction, because at least with Tendi, you didn't see any of the Orion sex slave. All you saw was the women in charge, the men subservient to the women, and the women pirate in charge type thing. So I feel like they took it in a little too far in the complete opposite direction, and it didn't keep any of this was the intro. I don't have a problem with it, but I feel like if I really thought about it, it would have been so, if all I had seen was Lower Decks and that very first appearance of the Orion slave girl, it'd be like, this isn't even the same character. What's going on? Or this isn't even the same race. The women aren't like that at all. The men aren't like they were portrayed in it at all. So there hasn't, and I don't remember Enterprise, so I can't speak to that. I probably haven't watched most of Enterprise. So there didn't seem to be a slow shift, because I know there's a lot of years between in the Star Trek universe. There's 150, 200 years between that, 150, 100 years between those two things. So I know things can progress. We've progressed a lot in the last 100 years, not always in the best ways, but so they could just be like, oh yeah, the culture changed, but you didn't see the culture change. So it's just like when Discovery came back and you're like, oh, all these things happened, and they expected you to just pick up, and you're like, but all this stuff happened and you're expecting us to just go with this, and I can't, because you didn't portray any of it.
Yeah. You just said a lot of things.
Yes. I hope they all made sense.
Yeah.
They made sense in my brain.
I did really like when they did the Lower Decks Strange New Worlds crossover. And they made a point of the fact that, Boimler was saying, in my time, it's offensive to consider Orions in the way you consider Orions in the 23rd century, right? Because that seems like a very natural thing.
Yeah.
As time goes on, we should be more understanding, more knowledgeable, right? If you went back 120 years, I would hope that the people you would find would be less progressive than yourself, right?
I don't know these days.
I know, if you watch the news, you might question that, but I think that works well for the Orions, because they were looking at Orions as pirates in the times of Pike, And then we have learned through Lower Decks, in particular, that not all Ryans are pirates, and it's kind of offensive to assume that they are. And I like that kind of growth in Star Trek, because you look back at like, say the Ferengi on Next Gen, and Riker's like, don't put the Ferengi quarters near my quarters, right? And if that was any human nationality, it would be like, wow, Riker is a friggin' terrible person, right? So you want to see that kind of growth displayed on Star Trek, just like we do in the real world. Because if you went like 120 years, I would assume that people have different views on various minority groups than I do today in 2025, right? I would hope so.
I would hope so. Not always the case, but more the case than had been at the time.
All right, so let's grab a few comments, and I'm just going to grab these at random. And I know that I'm not grabbing all the comments. Typically, we have Alan to like monitor the comments, and we're trying to do everything today. So if we missed your comment, it is not a criticism of you. We're doing our best here. So Elaine said, it has been interesting to watching the relationship with Riker and Deanna during our watch through of TNG, especially since I've seen all of Picard.
Yeah.
She went on to say, it has been weird to see them not together and with other people.
Yeah.
And Irish Banshee also said, it's also been, also new Star Trek isn't beholden to old Star Trek censor boards.
That's true.
And I don't know if that's always a good thing.
Yeah.
I feel like Star Trek works best when it's working against the system, right? Like the whole, we're going to do a story about today, but we're going to couch it in sci-fi so that you don't know this about today. It's about Vietnam. And, you know, but the censors didn't realize it was about Vietnam. That was a very big a part of Star Trek. Then we came to a point where you could just do an episode where, like, for instance, in Discovery, you can just have like gay characters, trans characters, non-binary characters, and they can just talk about it openly, right? You don't have to couch it in sci-fi. I don't know. Maybe we're going back. Maybe like the way culture is going, like maybe that will become useful again. But I think it's even useful to just be able to take social issues and take them out of our natural context and just look at them as like without the triggering things that are just natural with our preconceptions.
Yeah.
I think that's a useful thing. But even now, like as our culture seems to be becoming more censored than it was previously, there was just news that like, you know what, I'm not even getting into the news. But let's just go on to comments. I've had too many margaritas to talk about the news. So Elaine said, I love the way Orions evolved in Lower Decks, but I'm always easily amused, so don't mind me. And then Matt commented that if the Ferengi can evolve and allow women to wear clothing, Orions can evolve and adapt their pirate nature into a sort of warrior mythos. And I agree with that. I love the idea of taking sort of the stereotypes, like watching the characters of Star Trek evolve. And I would love for them to take more advantage of that in the 32nd century with Starfleet Academy. You know, so you could show how these races have evolved over 800 years since the Dominion War. Yep. And we can see where they're at now.
Yep.
Right?
So Matt mentioned the Ferengi. And one of the things that I thought about was the Ferengis always seem like creepy, sexy, I'm going to seduce you type of characters. And one of the things that Quark was always big about was umox, where it's stimulating the ear, the tantric tickle or the something or another, and the umox and something for pleasure. It's
essentially masturbation.
Yes.
But on the ears.
On the ears.
So you can do it on 90s TV.
Yes. Yes.
And if you're listening to the audio podcast, Veronica has a golden Ferengi head candle holder in her hand, and she is demonstrating umox. So if you're not watching the live or the YouTube, you're missing out.
I tried to give it a wet willy, and there's a piece of something on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you think about the umox in Star Trek? Because there was a scene in when the Ferengi went back in time to the 1940s, and they tricked a lady into giving them umox.
Yeah.
Like, is that a violation? Is that cool? It's ears, and she's a human, right? Like, is that?
So I had never thought about it that way, because for them, umox is kind of like masturbation. I didn't think about it that way.
Because, like, for them, the ears are a erogenous zone.
Yeah.
But for humans, they're not.
Not as much. For some humans, they are.
Well, sure. Okay, I'm sorry. You're correct about that, actually.
But for the most part, like most people don't think of the ears as an erogenous zone.
Not in the same way as the genitals.
Right.
Right.
Right. So, I mean, and that's one of the only things that I don't remember where I was going with this. I had a way where I was going, and it's gone.
Well, I'm just curious if, like, is that creepy and weird now? It was made 30 years ago or thereabouts. Like, is like Quark and Rom tricking the lady nurse into giving them umox like a weird sexual violation now? You're a woman, right? So you're the.
I mean, I don't find it weird and creepy.
Okay.
But I can see how some people might find it weird and creepy.
Okay.
I never thought of it as weird and creepy until you brought it up just now. And I was like, oh, yeah, it could be.
Sure.
I don't find it weird and creepy.
Now, the ears for the Ferengi are not actually genitals.
Yes.
It's just an erogenous zone.
Yes.
Right?
For all of them. Like some humans have an erogenous zone in their ears. All Ferengi males apparently have
It seems they do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The bulk of them, at least.
So far as we know.
Yeah.
So Matt Sweatman commented, have you ever featured umox in your puppet shows?
Not.
We haven't. And yeah, if you're new to the show, we are felt nerdy. We do puppet shows for adult audiences that do Star Trek and Doctor Who and so forth for conventions and so forth. But also we do very adult puppet shows, and we've not done an umox thing, mostly because we've not built a Ferengi puppet. And umox really works if you have a Ferengi.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
And then Tiger Blade 2002 commented, the umox scenes are now my third most watched.
Elaine had an interesting comment about Waxana.
Did she?
Yes.
She said, Waxana didn't seem to mind providing pleasure that way.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Waxana was very conservative, though. I think.
Well, would you? It's different, right? Like giving.
Yeah.
This show's probably going to end up with an explicit tag, but giving a handy to a human is different, or is it different from giving umox to a Ferengi and rubbing their
I feel like
ears?
it's different.
Even though they're reacting the same way.
Even though they're reacting the same way, because it's not used for the actual act. As far as I know, I don't know. I don't know anything about.
Not a scientist over here. Okay, so is giving umox cheating if you're in a relationship in a different way than what it would be for humans?
I mean, for Ferengi, I don't feel like it would be, because like they keep their women as slaves. I don't know.
But if a Ferengi landed here, would you be comfortable giving him umox?
Yes.
Okay. Good to know. So Matt Sweatman commented, wasn't it first featured in the episode where Waxana was randomly start stroking her Ferengi captor?
Yes. So it is a great way to distract the Ferengi.
Was that Menage a Troi?
I don't know.
I think it was probably Menage a Troi when they were captured by that Ferengi. And yeah, she was distracting him by rubbing his ears. And then Waxana didn't know that it was a sexual thing. So does that make it different if it's a sexual thing for that individual or that alien? If an alien landed and you rub his ears and it's a turn on for him, is that different than just rubbing his ears?
I don't know.
Okay, I'm asking you.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
That's an interesting question.
Okay.
I don't have an answer for that.
Okay. Well, I think this is a pretty interesting topic.
Yeah.
We're like coming up on the end of the show.
We didn't even talk about Klingons.
Dude. And like the adversarial, like violent sex.
Yeah.
Because it was a recurring gag. I mean, in DS9 in particular, also a little bit in TNG and a little bit in Voyager, that like you might end up with a broken rib in Klingon sex.
Yep.
Right? And primarily, like we would see it with like Worf and Jadzia.
Yep.
Do you remember that there was a Klingon episode of Voyager where Neelix hooked up with a Klingon woman and they tried the same sort of thing? It wasn't nearly as hot as Jadzia and Worf.
Nope. Nope.
So what do you think of that? Like, is that like, would you hook up with a Klingon if you might have a broken rib?
Nope. 100% no.
Now they did establish on Discovery. I'm going to say this in a gentle way, that we saw a Klingon peeing and there was 2 streams. So there were 2 sources for the stream, right? So if there was 2, that wouldn't change your mind?
Nope.
Okay. I don't want to put you on the spot. I was just curious.
Nope.
So Elaine says she may not have known when she started, but she sure figured it out soon after starting. And that
Yes.
was in reference
Luxana,
to
yep.
Luxana giving Umox.
Yeah.
hmm So you wouldn't have Klingon sex.
No.
Okay. So
No.
if you were going to have one of the alien sexes on Star Trek, what would you pick?
Oh, gosh. I mean, as far as we know, for the most part, most of them are fairly similar to humans.
But as Matt comments here, Klingons have a redundant anatomy with 2 of everything. You're not even intrigued by 2 of everything.
No.
Okay. Deanna Troi was on TNG in the later seasons.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you were going to pick a Star Trek couple, and like if you were going to watch them, like who'd have the hottest sex?
I mean, I feel like it would be Jadzia and Worf.
Okay, so if you were going to pick one to watch, it would be Jadzia and Worf.
I would watch Jadzia and Worf. I would not want to participate.
Okay.
In any of that.
Okay.
Any of that.
If I was just a watcher, if I was like that Mugatu from Lower Decks, I'm just the watcher.
Yes.
I'd go Nog, not Rog, Rom and Lita.
Oh.
Rom and Lita.
That would be interesting.
Do you think Rom and Lita are wild, or do you think Rom and Lita are gentle?
I think they're gentle.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true, but I would watch and find out. Well, we've come to the end of the show.
Yeah.
We did it all on our own. I think this is the first Earth section trick we've done on just you and me.
I know. I had some things to say.
So where can people find more of us?
Feltnerdy.com.
That's right. And if you're in the Atlanta area, we'll actually be marching in the Atlanta Pride Parade this coming Sunday. We're marching with the Center for Puppetry Arts with puppets.
Yep.
With Puppet Pride. We'll be carrying puppets in the Pride Parade. Come out and see us at the Atlanta Pride Parade.
Yeah. And where else will we be appearing soon?
I don't know.
We will be at Conjuration.
Well, that's right. We're at Conjuration.
This is the first time we're at Conjuration. We finally bit the bullet. We are not doing anything even remotely fantasy related. We are doing a Doctor Who Fairy God Doctor.
Right.
We might be doing that twice, or we might be doing that in their show. We don't know yet. So it's not fantasy based, even though that's what the show is. But we're like, we'll bring a puppet show, and they're like, yeah, let's do a Doctor Who show.
That's right. We also have a show coming up. I think it's December the 4th. So mark your calendars. It's not announced yet, so I don't want to say it.
Date.
And
we'll be at the Halloween Puppet Show.
That's November the 8th.
Yep.
We've got a lot of stuff coming up over the holidays.
Yeah.
So follow feltnerdy.com, or you can find Felt Nerdy for our family-friendly social media, or Felt Nerdy and Dirty for our more adult social media. And here's a pro tip if you don't know. If you follow Dabo Woman on Facebook, you see like the really adult stuff. Mostly of her. But follow Dabo Woman or Felt Nerdy and Dirty.
8.
Yeah, or Felt Nerdy on social media. And where else can people find more of us?
Monkeying Around, a podcast about the monkeys.
That's right. And our Monkeying Around podcast is a little bit gone to the wayside we've had a lot going on this year. Yeah. But Elaine just suggested a new strategy for Monkeying Around that I think we're going to adopt. I think it's going to get Monkeying Around out to you more often. But if you like the monkeys, or you like 60s pop culture, or if you like good music, or if you just like us, follow Monkeying Around across social media. You'll have a great time. Yep. And also, we're now admins on the Zilch Facebook page, which is like one of the large monkeys Facebook pages. So follow the Zilch page and Monkeying Around, and check it out because we really have fun doing it. Where else can we find us? Is that everywhere?
I felt nerdy monkeying around. Where else? You just threw me through a loop. I don't know what's going on.
I offered a third option. Maybe there's something else.
I don't know.
Okay. Do you have a closing for us this week?
Umox for fun and pleasure.
Okay. Well, join us Thursday evenings where we go live on Facebook at 8 p.m. Eastern on Thursdays. You can follow us after the fact on your favorite podcast platform or find us our videos on YouTube. Typically, we have Alan and Keith to keep us in check, but this week they bailed on us, so we just went wild. Drank, talk about sex. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. We will see you next time, and live long and prosper.